Forget everything bad people have said about the Boxster. It's such a hairdresser's car. It's a poor man's 911. Its engine now only has 4 cylinders and a Porsche is supposed to have 6. Because this is the very special Spider version, and it is quite possibly the best sports car Porsche currently makes. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. The normal Porsche Boxster and Boxster S have 4-cylinder turbocharged engines which are powerful but a little bit bland and not very Porsche-like really. This though has a new 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6. Now it's the same engine that you get in the new GTS, only in this it's tuned to 420 horsepower and 420 newton meters of torque, and that torque peaks at 5,000 RPM, which means you have to rev this engine. In fact, it redlines at 8,000 RPM. Top speed is 187 miles an hour, whether the roof is up or down. According to Porsche, this car can do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. I'm going to see what I can do with my specialist timing gear, yeah. Got the car stability control and traction control off, so it's all down to me. Come on, Matt, you can do it. Watch it good, do it proud. Start. Oh, lots of revs, lots of revs. It's 0 to 60, 4.7 seconds. I don't think I'm going to be able to launch it any better than that. If I had a PDK, I bet I could do less than 4.4 seconds, but I'm having to do the clutch and gears and stuff, and I'm not wall to roll. The Spider gets some big brakes. You've got 380mm discs at the front and at the back. You have 6 piston calipers at the front and 4 at the back. This one is fitted with the optional carbon ceramic brakes, which are a £5,500 option. And this one has the gloss black caliper paint, which is an extra 500 quid. Doesn't make you stop any quicker though. I'm going to use my specialist timing gear again to see how quickly this car can brake from 70 miles an hour. I'm going to measure the distance. Hopefully it's going to be less than 50 metres. In front of me there's a cone lane down. When I reach that I'm going to do a full emergency stop, and the cone at the end is 50 metres away. I need to stop before then, otherwise not good Porsche. Let's find out what it can do. Here we go. There's the 70. Here's the cone. Come on, stop before that one. Before the other car. This took 46.3 metres to brake, which is actually pretty good. This is a 3rd generation Boxster Spider, but it is the very first one to be built by Porsche Motorsport. So they're the team that build the GT cars, and this car actually has subframes for its suspension from the GT3. In fact, underneath the skin, this is exactly the same as the Cayman GT4, just without a roof. This car has variable ratio steering. It's not too responsive when you turn the wheel a bit, so it doesn't feel too edgy and jerky when driving along in a straight line. But the more you turn the wheel, the more responsive it does get, so it gives you that proper sporty feeling. Yeah, don't worry, dry steering's like dry humping. It's not that bad for you. You get active gearbox mounts as standard, which help hold the gearbox nice and tight when you're accelerating hard for precise changes. If you want to, you can adjust the car's toe and camber angles for the wheels, obviously, and the stiffness of the anti-roll bars, so you can set it up just perfectly for when you want to go on track. Speaking of going on track, it's got the right tyres for it as well. You've got Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres as standard. The Spider has a rated suspension over the normal Boxster, and it gets adaptive dampers as standard. You've also got a 2-stage traction control system, one with the stability off, then one with the stability and traction off if you want to do some skids. There's also an auto blip function for the gearbox, so it'll rev match as you shift down, and you've even got the all-important exhaust button to make it louder or quieter. The Spider has Porsche torque vectoring, which is essentially a limited slip differential, which can send power to the rear wheel with the most grip. Okay, let's see what all these chassis upgrades do to this car. Got the auto blip off. Myself, thank you. You can feel exactly how much grip you've got. It's lovely. Oh, carefully. You really can see that your pants stuff. Oh, sorry. I was just too busy enjoying myself. I guess that says it all really, doesn't it? Actually, there is one thing I should just check. Let's turn the stability control off. See if it'll let me behave like a deet. Yeah, you can slide it around. Oh yes, Porsche! this car has stop-start. That's why I did that. The Spider has some serious design upgrades over the normal Boxster. Most noticeable is the bigger front bumper with huge air intakes there. You've got this front spoiler as well with Spider written in there. It's like embossed in, looks really cool. This actually helps reduce lift. You've also got this intake here, which is classic for GT cars, for the radiators, and it comes as standard with bi-xenon headlamps, but this has the upgraded full LED matrix headlamps, which are a 1,400 quid option. Then there's these air vents here, which I can prove with the carwow stick of truth as being real. You know, they exit there as well to smooth airflow over the front wheels. In fact, you will not find any fakery on this car at all, so don't need this, that can go. Other sides, you've got 20-inch alloy wheels as standard, and they have the Porsche crest in the centre as well. The air intake for the mid-mounted engine has just one strake in it rather than two on the normal cars. You've got Spider written here, but the big difference obviously is the rear deck, which has this double bubble effect on, which looks super cool. It's even nicer actually with the roof up, because then you've got these flying buttresses. It's a stunning looking car from the side, this. Oh, and of course, it sits 30mm lower to the ground than the standard Boxster, which makes it look even more sporty. At the back, you've got a slightly redesigned rear bumper. It says 718 Spider, which is very important, obviously. You've got a bigger rear spoiler. The rear lights, they're smoked and they're all LED. You also have the exhaust, which are wider apart. Normally they're centrally mounted on the Boxster. But the biggest difference is this diffuser. And like I said earlier, there's nothing fake on this car. This does actually serve a purpose. And overall, this car produces 50% less lift than the standard Boxster. Here on the inside of the Spider, there's the usual Boxster loveliness. So you've got a fabulous driving position, really clear, nice dials. Everything is really easily laid out, simple to use, and build quality is exceptional. Now this car though obviously has the upgrades, including extended leather that you get with the Spider. Up here and up here you get sports chrono as standard, but then there's Alcantara for the gear selector. There's Alcantara in the center of the seats to stop you sliding around when you go around corners really quickly. But most important of all, there's the GT steering wheel, which is rimmed. Sorry, in Alcantara. Another thing to remind you that you're in a GT car is this. Look, you've got a strap instead of a normal door handle because that saves weight. And I actually find it a little bit more awkward to use than a normal handle, so I'd probably rather just have a normal handle. There's also some Spider badging here and here to remind you you're in the Spider, and up here on the headrest embroidered in, which is nice. So this car has some upgrades over the standard Spider, including these fabulous racing carbon fibre back sport seats, which cost £3,800. It also has the classic interior package, which includes the red leather, extended Alcantara, so you have it here and here as well. You've got some shiny aluminium pedals, and of course that lovely red roof. The Boxster Spider may be a focused sports car, but it does have decent practicality. Look, underneath this kind of whoop, whoop. Yep, wouldn't want to open that on a windy day. It might damage the mechanism. Anyway, underneath here, you have room for 120 litres. Here in the front boot, also known as the fruit, you have 150 litres of space. And if all this talk of litres means nothing to you, it does mean that there's enough room for a fully grown car reviewer, as I'll illustrate now. Hope I can, otherwise it's going to hurt. Yeah, I can. Wait a minute, I don't really like it in here. I don't like it. Let me out. Oh, I managed to escape. So now I can show you this. Final bit of practicality. In-car storage is pretty decent as well. So you've got some storage here. Got some storage here. You've got a little bit of storage under there. Even a bit of storage there, maybe for your coins. A glove box, which is an all right size, and the classic Porsche Cup Holder solution. We like this. Look at that. Yes, there it is. Means that if you put your cup there, there's another one actually for the passenger. They will only ever spill over the passenger, not over you, the driver. It's very well thought out, that. Now then, it's time for the carwow 5 annoying things about this car. Being a flat 6 naturally aspirated engine, it definitely sounds better than the flat 4 turbos you get in the normal Boxsters. Have a listen to this. Thing is though, they've had to fit this thing with petrol particulate filters, which does mute the noise somewhat, and it's got a soft limiter as well, like all modern cars. So it still doesn't sound as good as the older Porsche flat 6 naturally aspirated engines. So you're going to end up having to fit an aftermarket exhaust for it to sound as good as it could. The infotainment system is pretty decent, but while it has Apple CarPlay, it doesn't have Android Auto. Oh, I just don't want it. The Spider's roof is a bit of a faff to operate. So let's say it suddenly starts raining, you've got to stop the car, press this button to release the rear deck, pop out, run to the back, Lift this up carefully so you don't break it. Come back here, flip that out. Stop raining. I'm going to take it back down again. The list price of this car is £74,000, which is pretty good value when you consider what you're getting. However, the options are rather expensive. For instance, Porsche will charge you £345 if you want folding door mirrors, which you of course do, because otherwise people will knock them off. £230 if you want cruise control. It's £236 if you want speed sign recognition, which you get pretty much as standard on every single car. And a reversing camera, that's £825, the thieving buggers. It means the list price of this car you see here actually works out, when you add all the options together, at 92 grand, so it is starting to get a bit expensive. The rear spoiler deploys automatically at speeds above 74 miles an hour, which means technically it should never deploy automatically in the UK, because if it does, it'll be a sure sign to police that you are indeed speeding. Thank you very much for that, Porsche. It's a great idea. However, not everything about the 718 Spider is bad. Here's 5 good things about it, which I'll describe using classic motoring journalist cliches. The brakes are easy to modulate, which I think means they're not jerky. Oh, that's like a bolt-action rifle. How many journalists will have actually used a bolt-action rifle? Well, unless they're American. I think what they mean is it's short and snappy, a bit like this segment. The steering is telepathic. Actually, it's not. My hands are definitely controlling it. That's just like an automotive Ouija board. It's not supernatural in any way, shape or form. But the steering is, of course, very, very responsive. All the controls fall easily to hand. No, they don't. They're just easy to reach. If things are falling, that would be a bad thing and a warranty claim. The driving experience is accomplished and refined. What does that even mean? I've absolutely no idea. It probably does relate to this car, but I'm clueless. Maybe if you read Autocar, you can let me know in the comments below. Now, you might think that a car built by Porsche Motorsport is going to be hard to live with every day, but actually, I've got the suspension in the softer setting. I've got the exhaust noise toned down. I can hear quite a bit of tyre noise though, and it's a bit noisier in here than a normal Boxster. The suspension's a bit firmer as well, but actually over bumps. For such a sporty car, it does a good job. And these tyres as well, even though they're sort of like track day ready, when they're cold they seem to grip well enough. They're not super scary. I thought I'd be like skidding off the road if I put my foot down, and that's one thing about this. You put your foot down, it does pick up nicely straight away, so it's responsive, which makes it easier to drive. One thing that is a bit annoying though is the view out the rear window. It's tiny, pointless. Another thing that's interesting about this car is the long gearing. So, well, I'm going to put it into second gear. I'll show you how fast we go in second gear. There we go, that's the limiter. 85 miles an hour on the limiter in second gear. So it's quite tall gearing, and I don't think that when you're just pootling around in gear, this has quite the same low down punch as the Boxster S with its turbocharged engine. That's the only thing. You do need to rev this engine a bit more. Now, this engine is actually quite unique in the way that it's the first ever Porsche engine to have cylinder deactivation. So when you're just pootling along with 6th gear, it will actually only run on half of its bank, so 3 cylinders at once, and after 20 seconds it runs on the opposite bank and it switches backwards and forwards, so that you're not just running on one bank and destroying that side's catalytic converter. Now, all that's designed to improve the economy. This thing is supposed to average 25 miles per gallon, though this one's only doing 21. Not terrible really for a car like this with its performance, but not brilliant either. Not sure how far we're going these seats though. Go on the racetrack, but after a while I think they're a little bit on the firm side. So then, what's my final verdict on the Porsche Boxster Spider? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should avoid it and get a Dacia Sandero instead. Actually, I'm just talking rubbish. Of course, you should go right ahead and buy it. Well, that's if you can stand the waiting list for them, because they are in short supply. If you can't be bothered to wait, I'll sell you this one right here for £115,000. Just contact me through my Instagram page, @MattWatsonCars. I'm just joking. I'm going to keep it for myself.